and welcome to St. Peter's Hove. I'm Father Alexander, and here we go again, step 163 on our walking tour through the Bible. Now, I suppose you may have heard at some point of this phrase, which was much admired in the 18th century, the vanity of human wishes. That is to say, that human ambition would frequently be thwarted, that what people wanted, they'd end up with something completely different. Um, and this was sort of a standard morality tale in the 18th century. There's a very famous poem, I think, called The Vanity of Human Riches, which I think may be written by Dr. Johnson, but I'm not sure. Now, the idea being that you spend your entire life building up a fortune and then you lose it all and you die a poor man. The vanity of human wishes. Now, this Psalm 61 bracket 62 is about the vanity of human wishes, at least in part. It says halfway through, common folk are only a breath, great men an illusion. Placed in the scales they rise, they weigh less than a breath. Do not put your trust in oppression, nor vain hopes on plunder. Do not set your heart on riches, even when they increase. For God has said only one thing, only two do I know, that to God alone belongs power, and to you, Lord, love, and that you repay each man according to his deeds. Now, this little lesson here on the transience of human achievement, the transience of worldly goods, the vanity of human wishes, the absolute futility of ambition. Clearly, our blessed Lord knew this psalm extremely well because it's, if you like, what lies behind his famous words in the Gospel of St. Luke about do you see the splendor of the fields? They're more glorious than Solomon in all his regalia. The plants of the earth, the flowers, they do not spin or weave, and so on. Yet not even Solomon was clothed as one of these. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things shall be added unto you. In other words, it's useless spending your life trying to get on because you'll get on anyway, maybe. What you should do is spend your life in trying to please God, not going after earthly things. But it's not just because earthly things are illusory, and eventually fail us. It's because earthly things are not worthy of us. We should set our hearts on the kingdom of God and the glory of the kingdom of God. That is the only thing that is truly worthy of us. In other words, don't sell yourself short. Be ambitious, as St. Paul would put it, for the higher gifts. Look up at the stars, even when you're lying in the gutter, as Oscar Wilde would have put it. So, common folk are only a breath, great men an illusion. Don't be jealous of great men, because they're an illusion. It's the glory of God, pleasing God, that really counts. And don't forget, in ancient times, being a great man was considered very important. If you go to a Middle Eastern city, let's say like Palmyra, you can see along the main avenue these plinths where the statues that great men put up to themselves or their fellow citizens put up to them used to stand. Every plinth is now empty. So all those great men have been forgotten. Again, you might remember that famous poem by Shelley. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. And yet all that's left of Ozymandias is a few broken fragments in the desert. Ozymandias is forgotten. So human ambition is essentially an illusion and a delusion, a terrible disappointment. But let's look at the first part of the psalm. That's the negative side. Let's look at the positive side. Here we go. In God alone is my soul at rest. My help comes from him. He alone is my rock, my stronghold, my fortress. I stand firm. So a declaration of faith. How long will you all attack one man to break him down as though he were a tottering wall or a tumbling fence? Their plan is only to destroy. They take pleasure in lies. With their mouth they utter blessing, but in their heart they curse. In God alone be at rest, my soul, for my hope comes from him. He alone is my rock, my stronghold, my fortress. I stand firm. In God is my safety and glory, the rock of my strength. Take refuge in God, all you people. Trust him at all times. Pour out your hearts before him, for God is our refuge. Okay, the statement of faith that his rest is in God alone, his peace is in God alone, his inner stillness is based on his faith in God. And he's encountered huge opposition from various people who've made a lot of noise and who've tried to attack him and tried to overthrow him, but he remains at peace. Now, this is important. We'll always meet people who will tell us, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And telling us that what we are doing is all wrong and we should be doing something else, and so on and so forth. People who want to, if you like, make our lives a misery and sort of turn our lives upside down. And we need to, in the center of our lives, and that means in our hearts, be fixed on God and be completely still, not to be to experience the turbulence of the world, the centrifugal forces which drag us one way or the other. In God is my safety and glory, the rock of my strength. Take refuge in God. So we find our rest in God, we find our refuge in God. It is to God we turn to escape the noise and clamour of the world, to escape all the bad things that are happening around us, all the things that worry us and upset us. They should be like water off a duck's back, and they will be like water off a duck's back because we will be waterproofed, made buoyant by the fact that we rest in God, we've taken refuge in God, we trust in God, trust him at all times. Easily said, but it's something that's to be lived out existentially. We need to trust God at all times. When things look bleak, or when things look bad, or when people around us are not being particularly helpful, we need to trust in God and shrug off the things that are not from God. And then we have this lovely verse, and I was first alerted to this lovely verse by the late Father Anthony Meredith S.J., the great and good Jesuit from Campion Hall, later at Farm Street. Pour out your hearts before him, for God is our refuge. God is inviting us to pour out our hearts before him. Okay, to pour out sounds like a liquid, so you can pour out a glass of wine, a libation, a sacrifice to God. But to pour out your heart is to pour out the contents of your feelings, to pour out your feelings, pour out your thoughts, to pour out more than just your thoughts, your feelings, your inner soul. In other words, to hold nothing back from God, not to treat God as somebody you meet in the street or at a party, somebody you don't want to give too much away in front of. Rather, give everything away in front of God. Be honest with God. Be honest with yourself. Pour out your hearts before him. Do not hold anything back. Let God see everything that is in your heart, because then he's our refuge. He will transform our hearts. He will make our hearts strong. He'll make our hearts peaceful. He will strengthen our hearts. Don't forget, the human being is three things. Mind, yes, we know that. Thought, we can think about God. Heart, feelings, and also something more than heart, guts. The gut feeling we have about God, the gut reaction we have about God, all these things need to be brought to God, poured out in front of him. Anyway, that is Psalm 61. So don't set your heart on riches, even when they increase. Your bank balance might be going up every day, but the really important thing in your life is God. Pour out your heart before him and don't worry too much about the things of this world. Hope that helps. All the very best. Bye.